Are you tired of the mainstream media lying to you every single day? You are not alone. Millions of other Americans are sick of the corporate media fake news of the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. But now you have another option in independent creators like here on the CASHLOREN show. Well, we will go and we will expose the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, and the mainstream media, along with the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Uniparty, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get the facts on the CASHLOREN show. I am your host, America's truth teller, shining a bright red light on the corruption and the hoaxes from the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. Join the American First Movement Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN show.
In 2025, we find ourselves in a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service, it's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Well, welcome back, everybody, as we are now on Wednesday, and there's a lot happening every single day in this world of politics that we dissect and we talk about and we break down as what has happened today ahead of the rest of the fake news networks. Starting out with Israel and Iran as the war continues to escalate over on the Middle East. And you have all these neocons who have decided they want to have their war with Iran. And this is something that what we call the neocons, the uniparty. These are the neoconservatives that are slowly dying out as MAGA takes over the conservative movement, actual conservatives. Because there's nothing really conservative about these people. They're basically just liberals pretending to be Republicans. You might as well, instead of calling them neoconservatives, you might just call them neoliberals. And they have been wanting this war in Iraq, or excuse me, in the Middle East and with Iran for a very, very long time. Is you have people like Jimmy Graham up there losing his crap, just getting so excited for the possibility of going and shooting missiles into somebody else's country and funding both sides of the war while he sits safely back in DC and collects paychecks. When it's your sons and your daughters that go and take all the risks. And this is something that on our side of the fence, we've dealt with basically the last 30 years, is these neocons have had a very strong hold on the Republican Party. If some of you are old enough to remember places like Afghanistan and like Iraq, where we were told there was weapons of mass destruction, right? And that justified going into these countries. And they ignored the Egypt connections and they ignored Pakistan connections and they ignored all the other connections that went back to 9/11. They just focused went on Afghanistan and then into Iraq. Now, they're essentially trying to do the same things. They're trying to bait Trump into going to war with Iran. And I really hope that we can stay away from this, because Trump does make a good point in that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But at the same time, this is not our war. We don't need to be bogged down in another Middle East conflict forever. And you remember, how many of you are old enough to remember, like back when the Department of Defense in Iraq and Afghanistan was laughing about the quagmire. And then they talked about how there was going to be this 100-year war, right? And they took out Saddam Hussein. And then we were still there all the way up to this administration until Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan. And to this day, our weapons and our troops are still in the Middle East. And this is what they're trying to pull here in Iran. These are these insane, woke, neocon war pigs, drunk on the blood of the innocent, to make themselves and their friends filthy rich. They start a foreign war and then they fund both sides of it, and everyone collects checks off your tax dollars. We got to say enough is enough for this. And hopefully Donald Trump is able to, which anybody can, is Donald Trump is able to go through this minefield and figure this all out. As he's also having some very fun on Truth Social trolling Iran in, as there it looks like it could be a collapsing regime. There's this, it's hard to tell when we go through and we start looking through all these stories because there's so much fake news and propaganda going out to try to figure out what is real and what is not real. Where one side says, the regime is collapsing. The other side says, we're going to destroy Israel. As this plays out, we just saw right before I went on live that there's more bombs going off in Tehran, and hopefully it's just not U.S. bombs. Yeah, if Israel and Iraq and Iran want to have their war, then that's between those two countries. But we don't need U.S. to get involved. But Trump is trolling Iran on this. Trump is right in that he is upset because he gave Iran 60 days to clean this mess up. And they should have taken Trump up on his deal. And then what happened on day 61? Right, and all this started. And even to this day, as they're continuing to bomb, they're trying to shoot in Israel, and Israel's shooting into Iran, they're still learning absolutely no lessons from anything that has happened before. So Donald Trump, he starts out and he posts on, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but he is safe there. So again, good that Trump is showing some restraint here and not pushing this thing farther. I think most people on our side, in fact, I know from what we see from on X and from the polling, do not want to get in another Middle East war. 100%. But we also agree with Trump that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And this puts us in a very peculiar place because, we have peace through strength and we have no new wars. And we don't want to get bogged down in another endless war in there. But if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, if they do or they don't. See, this is the whole thing that is really strange about all this. As much as I trust Trump, I lived through the weapons of mass destruction. I remember them going to the UN, right, and holding up those rods and saying that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction when they never did. And I believe that the Bush administration knew the entire time that Iraq did not have weapons of mass destruction. And at first it was the 9/11 into Afghanistan. But the very people that supposedly attacked us are the same ones that we funded to go and attack the Russians. It's a huge mess that we don't need to get involved in. And then next we have Trump. He posts in unconditional surrender, talking to Iran now is if reports again. It's hard to decide what is real and what is not real. But this looks like this is going really bad for Iran, and we'll see what happens. We had one of them come out today, and he said that he thinks that the regime is on the verge of collapsing. Well, whether it is or not, we'll wait and see. And I'll continue to check through the breaks and stuff and see if anything else comes out. As the bombs are starting to drop again as night comes, we have then Donald Trump. He goes on. He continues. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks. So this is all the fake news that is coming out. Why I say we have to be really careful about what we report on, what we don't report on. Because there's a lot of people now that are out there that are trying to push whatever it is they're trying to push. And we have exposed, especially the fake news networks, the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, every single one of them are in the bag for the DNC. But Fox is not much better, right? They're just as much Trump hating as the rest of them. And you have all the neocons still infected in Fox. So who knows? As we go through and we try to get all the pieces together, we will wait and see what happens on this. But this is essentially, they're trying to say that Donald Trump was involved in the peace talks, and they're trying to push today. I think there's a news report from Israel saying that Donald Trump and the American soldiers were going to get involved. And Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth came in and said, no, we're not. We're taking a defensive position. We're not getting involved in this war. And then on Trump's next post, he goes, we have complete and total control of skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it. But it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. And I just, no boots in the ground. I really hope at the end of the day, that's what happens. here is that we don't get involved in this war. We have also now, so this is from this morning, and this is a reporter asking Donald Trump about if he is going to do a peace deal with Iran. You can see that's the frustration on Donald Trump's face as he's had sick enough when he gave them 60 days and they didn't believe it. And part of this is to get really frustrated because we have all the old administrations, especially like going through the Biden administration, when they did absolutely nothing, right? When they were weak and they were feckless and they caved every single time. So if you're a foreign enemy and you see a weak United States, which is why I believe that Russia went into Ukraine. And when Russia saw Biden, the disaster in Afghanistan, and 13 of our service members die, and then leave billions of dollars equipment there, I believe that was the moment when Putin decided to go in. And then when Kamala Harris went over to Ukraine and strongly insinuated that Ukraine should join NATO, that was always a red line in the sand for Putin. He goes in, we look like fools, we spend hundreds of billions of dollars, and the rest, as you know, is history. Now, we're more up to here. So this is Donald Trump. As he is frustrated, he's been showing peace through strength and starting to tone things down, as they should be. But Iran, I think, is just used to a weak U.S. And so this is Trump talking about it. Then after Trump is talking about it, we'll take a real quick pause. And then there's Jimmy Graham up there basically just wetting his pants, really excited and hoping that we get to drop missiles and bombs in Iran to make him and his war buddy, pig buddies, filthy rich.
Negotiating with the Iranians right now, or do you want to wait?
I don't know. I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces. They've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in a mood to negotiate now.
Right. So that's Donald Trump there. Very, very frustrated. You can see on his face as he's asked to do the deal. And then we have this comment over here from X saying McCain is thrilled beyond the grave. And yeah, this is part of that uniparty. The war pigs that used to run the Republican Party. And while few are still remaining, their hold on the Republican Party is done. But they're not done yet. And they're still trying to push these wars. So here's Jimmy Graham with his buddy Sean Hannity trying to convince the American people that's a good idea for your sons and your daughters to put boots on the ground and die, which is in a separate clip, but that's what he's talking about here. And then funding both sides of the war and doing anything we can to help Israel, no matter the cost to the United States.
Task at hand. Be all in, President Trump, in helping Israel eliminate the nuclear threat. If we need to provide bombs to Israel, provide bombs. If we need to fly planes with Israel, do joint operations. But here's the bigger question. Wouldn't the world be better off if the Ayatollahs went away and replaced by something better? Wouldn't Iran be better off? Tom Cotton is coming on.
So there's all the generations, right? Isn't it better if we send your sons and your daughters to go die in another foreign endless war? Right? Isn't it better if we just start funding Israel, and then we've already been funding Iran and probably Israel? But where do you think Obama and Biden, all that money that they gave to the Iran regime went? This it was so frustrating. Our foreign policy is what causes all this. And now this isn't Trump's mess. This isn't our mess. This is Obama's mess, and this is Biden's mess. But now Trump's stuck in the middle. And we're stuck in the middle when we should be focusing on securing our border. We should be focusing on deporting every single illegal immigrant. We should be focusing on doing our trade deals and using tariffs to leverage what is best for America. We should be focusing on bringing manufacturing here back to the United States. And we should be focusing on making the federal government as small as possible and using Doge to expose as much as we can so we can cut as much funding as possible. I mean, I just imagine we cut like 80 or 90% of the federal government.
You made a great observation. The endless wars are on. Since 1979, they've been attacking the entire region, chanting death to America, death to Israel since their very founding. It's time to close the chapter on the Iranian Ayatollah and his henchmen. Let's close that chapter soon and start a new chapter in the Mideast, one of tolerance, hope, and peace.
Yeah, how many times has we gone and we toppled a government, really gone out well? Israel, or not Israel, but Ukraine is a perfect example of that. Okay, they had a duly elected government. We went in, it was January 6th on steroids. I mean, everything that they accused the Republicans of doing on January 6th, our own government did worse in Ukraine and toppled their government. And now you see where the results are. And this happens over and over and again in the world as we go through and we decide, we as the United States, we get to decide as our part of our foreign policy who should and shouldn't be in charge of governments throughout the world. I mean, I'm sure many of you can just start naming them, where these governments have fallen because of what we've done. We really need to switch things back to what they should be, where they should be America first, and we protect our borders and our interests here in the United States. This taking our tax dollars to where they bring in $5 trillion and then they spend $7 trillion, and then all of you're the ones that suffer. Because there's no bigger tax than inflation on you. And the only way inflation happens, it's very simple. The government prints more money than it has. It is very simply too much money chasing too few goods. And this is how the government spends $7 trillion when it brings in $5 trillion. Just, we'll just print a button. We'll just go in, we'll put it, and all of a sudden trillions of dollars go out the door. And look at your costs. It just happened just over the last 4 years. Now ask your parents, your grandparents, they're still around, how much things costed back then, but not just the dollar amount. I don't mean like burgers used to be 25 cents or $1 and now they're $5 or whatever. What I mean is the percentage of the cost to you. Like groceries were 10% and now they're almost 30 or 40%, maybe 50% for some. That's the real cost of inflation. And these are the battles that we should be fighting, not sending bombs over to Iran. We don't need another forever war. We need peace through strength. We need what Donald Trump is promising, just like he is taunting Iran. And in my opinion, I really hope that Trump, he avoids these war pigs. I'll take a second to make sure I say what I want to say. Because I can only imagine how they're all in his ears right now, trying to get him to go to war. Just like he had with his Security Council apparently today. And then another fake news article, they're talking about this first segment where, what's real and what's not, it's really hard to decipher. It's all day that, Trump was going to have a presser tonight after a Security Council. And that never happened. And now we just got to wait and see. And hopefully that the bombs that are falling right now, hopefully they're not us. I'm 100% going to check on break. And we're going to do that right now. When we come back, we're going to switch a little bit and talk more about the United States, including our borders that we need to secure. What you voted for is to deport every single illegal immigrant from this country. And the Democrats think that they can break the law to protect these illegal criminals. And when they get held responsible, they all of a sudden pretend that they're a victim. You're not going to miss that or anything else. We'll be right back after this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast and you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. Well, the Democrats are learning nothing as they continue to be on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue. Have you noticed this about them, whether it be on the immigration, as we're covering now, or on the economy? There isn't a single issue that they can go and they can say, you know, we're on the same side as American citizens. Even what they thought was their strongest point is like women, because they've reduced women to abortion. I think the most satanic thing a human can do is end an innocent life. And that's they're trying to say that they're pro-women by being, pro-choice, meaning ending the innocent life of these babies. Because even at that point, the Democrats are drunk on the blood of the innocent. And when they do all their fake virtually signaling, they stand for the cameras, they yell and they scream and they do all this, acting and pretend that they're being all emotional. They don't grasp that people out there don't agree with them. Even when they lost 2024, right, and they've lost the House, they've lost the Senate. Now their polling is continuing to drop lower and lower and lower. But the Democrats, they're just so arrogant. Have you ever listened to them speak, or you hear how they talk to each other? They don't understand how unpopular their ideas are. And this is because they think that they are better than you. And they think that they are smarter than you. You see, you're just a dumb hick. And they have Ivy League degrees. Right? And so they know what's best for this country because their worldview is right. And it doesn't matter whether it really is true or not. In their minds, they can't be wrong. And this is why even when their polls go further and further and further, their own fake polls drop tank down, where it be in the 30s and then in the 20s and then 19 and now 17. Their own fake polls show them dropping. I remember there was one that was on Trump's 100 day, right? And they did one of their fake polls, and then they lied in their poll about the results, trying to say that Donald Trump was the most unpopular first 100 days ever. Blatantly lying in their own data. But what they hid in that report, if you go through and you read it like I did, is that they're saying that even though they claim that Donald Trump is so unpopular, the Democrats are even more unpopular. Of course, that wasn't in the headline, not for a single second. No, they just went straight through with how Trump is bad and Trump is evil. See, this is where they're stuck at. Is they only talk to each other. This is the Democrats. This is their greatest strength and their greatest weakness. It's because unlike our side, where we will go all over the place and we will, you will have some of our side, they'll fill one way one issue, and then you have others, they'll fill a different way on a different issue. So it's really hard to get anyone on the conservative side, especially in government, to all go down the same party lines, where it's not near as hard for the Democrats. I mean, if the Democrats had the House right now, and they had 53 senator seats, and they had the presidency, how much more do you think would be done right now? Right? How many more bills do you think they'd be spending half their time on vacation? No, they would all be voting down the party lines, and every single one of them would be on social media and on every single fake news podcast they could get to, and they'd be calling the Republicans all kinds of names to try to bully them into submission. Exactly what they do, because the Democrats, they think they are right. I mean, in their mind, everything that's happening, this is too important for elections. This is about social justice. This is about equity. This is about them pretending that they get to decide what is moral and what is right. And if you don't agree with them, then that's not their part. That's not their problem. No, the problem is you. The problem is that you should just do what they say because they are the liberal elite. I mean, you can almost see them. It's like a slime. Just the sheer arrogance of the left. And this brings into right now where we're going with the illegal immigration into our country, which ended up being the number 2 issue and what really pushed Donald Trump over the edge. And if you look at all the areas that Trump won in, not only did he win all 7 swing states, not only did he win the popular vote, almost reaching 80 million votes, but he also increased his demographic reach in virtually every single category. Except I think black women was the only one that he lost ground in. And even after that happens, the Democrats still don't get it. They still think that their illegal invasion of our country is somehow justified. And then as they go and they say, well, if you don't agree with the illegal invasion of our country, then it must be your fault, right? You must be a racist, or you must be a bigot, or you must be one of those extreme MAGA Republicans. And they're not just saying that. They really do think that way. Because there's, like you talk about with their strength of being all lined up, but when they only talk to each other and they silence everybody else, they don't realize that the Democrats, they're just sitting in this little corner over here with their little elitist leftist bubble. And they don't realize that the rest of the country doesn't think like them because they only talk to each other. They go, I hate Donald Trump. This person goes, yeah, I hate Donald Trump. So they all think, well, since we all talk to each other and 100% of us hate Donald Trump, well, then the country must hate Donald Trump. And they go, well, we want illegal immigration. They go, yeah, we want illegal immigration. And so, but they realize even the arrogance on the left, they realize how unpopular that is. So instead of changing their position or doing what the voters want, because the liberal elite, they don't think they should be subject to votes. And so instead what they do is they try to slander you. And if that doesn't work, then they try to change the definition of words. And fake news is more than happy to help them with all this, as we have this New York City compatory. So this Brad Latter, he was arrested today for trying to interfere with ICE and apparently assaulting police officers. Of course, the left, they look at it, how could you arrest, a government official? Well, so is government officials above the law? What about judges? Can judges just do anything they want? See, this is why the left is so arrogant. They've been so used to doing whatever they want and not being held responsible for such a long time that they think that's going to continue even now. And then when they are held responsible, they don't take any responsibility for their actions. They instead blame the people who are upholding the law. We have this one from Political. ICE agents detain New York City competitor in a chaotic scene. And this is the fake news. This is the favorite way where they try to lie to you, the American voters. Because what they'll do is they won't give you context. All they'll do is they'll tell you the parts that you want to hear, and they want you to tell you. But if they gave you all the facts and they told you everything that was happening, then you would never go along with what they're going. Because what's missing from that article? What's missing is he was assaulting ICE agents. He tried to grab this illegal immigrant and take them out of the courthouse right past the police. He screwed around, and now he found out. And whether they're assaulting ICE agents or they're assaulting buildings, whatever the case may be, the Democrats have thought for far too long that they have immunity from law. And political isn't the only one running with this garbage, as we have here in the Washington Post that New York City Comptroller Brad Lauder, who is running for mayor, was detained by ICE Tuesday while observing. Okay, yeah, observing, according to them. That's a fancy way to, a fake news way to say obstructing justice, possibly, or impeding law enforcement. You will never hate fake news enough. So let's see, I think I have it here. Okay, so this is the clip we have of what happened in the courtroom. No, that's the wrong one. Okay, I don't think I have that one loaded up. I'll try to bring it up during break. But he essentially, what he's been doing is he was going to the courthouses because ICE now is arresting criminals at court, just like they should. Right? If you're illegal, you say you have warrants, and you show up to court, you can expect that the chance to get arrested is possible. Same thing if you're an illegal immigrant. If you're here illegally, arrest and deportation is the due process. But so the Democrats, once ICE started arresting people in courts, and then ICE started arresting judges who were trying to interfere with law enforcement, now the Democrats think that they're so high and mighty that they can go into court themselves and they can just grab illegal immigrants and walk them out the door. I mean, that's just how sheer arrogant these people are. So he tried to grab the illegal immigrant by the arm and rip him past ICE officers, was warned, didn't listen, tried to force his way through, and got arrested. That's what they're not telling you in any of these. But of course, imagine if this is backwards. Right? Imagine if a Republican politician did this. Let's say it was during January 6th, right? And all the prisoners were there. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to force her way into the DC gulag. Do you think Political and Washington Post will be writing these kind of nice, friendly, woke-worded headlines? Or will they look like something else? Of course, I think we all know the answer to that question. So after he's released earlier today, this is Kathy Hochul pretending that the Democrats are victims because, they don't enjoy the two-tier justice system anymore.
Do you want to know what I really think?
Please.
It's how dare they take an elected official who's been going down there for weeks to
how dare they? How dare they hold a Democrat responsible for their actions? I mean, what could they possibly be thinking? I mean, he is a liberal elite. He is a New York liberal. He doesn't respond to the law. He is high above you in his high lofty ivy tower. Hey, these rules, these laws, these are for you. This isn't for them. No, they're the Democrats. They enjoy the two-tier justice system. You don't enjoy the two-tier justice system, but they do. They have the rules for you and not for them. So the exact same scenario, if you go in, you try to force your way through past police with a criminal, you would expect to be arrested. That is the expected result of trying to break the law. But not on the Democrats' mind, as she continues.
escort people who are afraid to walk into a courthouse in the United States of America. Because despite them having legal status and following the rules and making their appointments,
they came into this country illegally. They are not following any rules. I mean, what rules does she think she's following? Okay, if you come here, that is by definition illegal alien by our own federal laws. At that point, you can be kicked out of our country. It's always been that way. And something the Democrats don't ever talk about now is that Barack Obama, he deported over 3 million illegal immigrants. Or Bill Clinton is the one that helped create the laws to do all this deportation that is the due process. Now all these Democrats that they see illegal immigrants as votes either now or later, they're trying to pretend that they just get to create laws and decide which ones they follow and which ones they don't. And if they get in trouble for breaking the law, well, then obviously it's your fault for enforcing the law, not their fault for breaking the law.
That they don't know what's going to happen to them. So Brad Lander has stepped up to be a guiding help for them. And this is what happens to him.
Yeah, she's so proud, right? She's so proud that here he is, right? This knight in shining armor is standing up for these illegal immigrants. Did he stand up for any of the American citizens when our country was being invaded? Has he stood up for anyone in New York? What about all the people who have lost their lives to illegal immigrants? Well, all the people who have lost their livelihoods. What about all the tax dollars that they've stolen from you and given to illegal immigrants? You know, where's all the Democrats' fake virtue signaling for that? This is the huge problem with wokeness, is that they think they get to choose which laws they enforce and which laws they don't.
What the hell is happening to this country? Tens of thousands of people came here.
Millions, tens of millions.
With legal status, and it's literally ripped away from them.
I don't even know how she can sit up there and talk like that. When she signed executive orders saying that they were going to protect illegal immigrants from law enforcement. They're so arrogant. But she doesn't think anything can happen to her. Just like Brad Lander thinks that he could just walk by law enforcement and not be held accountable for his actions. Or like these other Democrats who think they can walk into Chicago and then they can decide that they just demand all of a sudden that they can gain entrance into these facilities whenever they want. And the ICE agent here, he is hilarious as he takes none of their crap.
Are you an officer with the BI International?
I am an officer with ICE.
You're an officer with ICE?
Do you have a badge?
Do you have an ID? Can we see it?
I don't have to show that to you.
You don't have to show your
I'm telling you to leave. I've already identified myself. I'm an officer
Can you
with
show me a
ICE.
badge or an ID?
You're not allowed to be here. Police are coming. Okay?
What are we doing this in purpose, sir?
What's
Who are you?
Yeah, you're showing up to a facility and you're demanding interest and you don't have it. And when they tell you to leave, you leave. But the Democrats they're so arrogant in all this that they want to dox ICE agents. So, can you show us your face? Can you show us ID? How much you want to bet all of a sudden their identity gets all of a sudden magically leaked? Whenever they show ID, they show their names. What are the odds you think that would happen right now? If he had told them who he was, how much you want to bet his name and his face would be all over the internet right now? 100%, right? And with that, we're up against another break, so we'll be right back. We come back, we have CNN speaking of the Democrats as they have no real concern for American citizens, but they've been looking for their kids in cages hoax to try to bring sympathy for criminal illegal aliens that shouldn't be here. So the one thing they try to do is they try to find the 1% outside case, and then they try to take that and attach it to everything else and have somebody crying on camera so that they can fake virtue signal and try to get you to come to a conclusion that you never would have otherwise. We'll show that video and a lot more right after this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. If you are watching this show, then you are probably sick and tired of the corporate media we call fake news lying to you every single day. You are not alone. This has caused many citizen journalism, as much as I hate to say the J word, that's really what we're doing, is exposing the fake news networks and the corrupt government every day without the filter of the corporate media deciding what you can and cannot know. Many of us make these videos with the extra room that we have in our houses, just like I am here in our spare bedroom. But making these is not free. We have families to feed as well. If you are enjoying this content, then it will always be free, and I thank you for your support. But if you want to help monetarily, there is a great way to do that on Locals. Click on the link below, sign up for our different tiered programs, and we will have additional content for you based on the level that you sign up for, including being thanked in the end of videos every single day. Take a moment, if you enjoy this content, and sign up for the monetary support and help us stay on air and offer you more benefits, such as more shows and better production. So sign up for today at Locals and support the citizen journalisms and help us get past the fake news networks. Well, immigration is a huge issue here in the United States, as that is the number 2 issue that you voted on. The number 1 is always economy in every single presidential election. But immigration is what put Donald Trump into the White House. As much as the Democrats wanted to be about abortion or the women's right to choose, being drunk on the blood of innocent children, they didn't get their wish. So now the Democrats and the Uniparty and their friends over at fake news networks, it'll be CNN, ABC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. And we have one of them, the fake news network CNN. They are looking for the new Kids in Cages hoax, where they can sit there and they can try to drop sympathy and try to bully people into not enforcing our laws. Just like we covered in the last part, where you had the Democrat mayor candidate going in and trying to push his way through ICE with an illegal immigrant. He screwed around, he found out. Now CNN, while they ignore all the crime, and they ignore that people came here illegal in the first place, but then they're committing crimes here. And they ignore how when they get arrested, that they are not held responsible in these Democrat sanctuary cities over and over again. And then when Trump and his ICE go in there, all of a sudden they're trying to pretend, well, Trump's targeting, these Democrat cities. He's making us victims, right? So that's how they always do it. They always pretend they're victims every time they're held responsible for their actions. Clearly ignoring that the police, that's where they go. You commit a crime, the police go where the crime was committed. It's straightforward. And when Democrats, when they say, we're not going to enforce our laws, you're going to pick and choose which laws you have, and then the Trump administration is fine. If you won't enforce the laws, we will enforce them. And now they're screwed around finding out. So CNN is all in the bag for these Democrats now, and they found their new child in cages hoax. Here is his mother gets deported, and then watch how fake news CNN, how they go and they report this, they ignore everything else that is happening.
Mom came here to work. She's not a criminal. she ever wanted to do was provide for her family, get her children ahead.
Rena Ramirez was one of 70 people taken into custody by ICE at a meatpacking plant.
Right. So she is an illegal immigrant. By definition here, illegally. How long does it matter? Is I believe with her it was decades. Couldn't matter one bit. That is the due process. So now they're sitting there and they found the right. They got a female sitting there crying because they lost their mommy, and they think that they can bully people and say, "Well, you know what? That's really terrible and that's really awful that she was arrested for committing a crime." And so what the fake news will try to do then is they'll say, well, that's so terrible. So then to make sure that never, ever happens, you should just never arrest any illegal immigrants. Now, do not doubt me for a second. That is exactly what they're trying to push. This is their kids in cages hoax. You're going to cry about illegal immigrant. Here's your victim, right? Here's your girl crying because she lost her mommy. They do this with every single issue. They try to find the outliner and they ignore the rest. Right? They don't. How many these pieces of you think you've done for CNN on all the people that come here illegally and commit murder, rape, assault? Right? Do you think they did one of these hit pieces for Lake and Riley? Not a chance, right? They completely ignore when you, the American citizens, when you suffer from their illegal invasion, that gets ignored. But here it is. Their kids in cages.
In Omaha, Nebraska. Her family says she has lived in Omaha for nearly 25 years and has worked grueling shifts at the raided plant for 13 years.
Have you thought that she might not be coming back to this house?
Yeah. We know it's a reality. I think the biggest thing for us is her being detained. And we've even said it, she's even said it, if she is to be deported, we'd rather her just be deported than be in a detention center.
You know, I actually like the way she's thinking there. You know, these judges, I agree. You know, if you get arrested, you're here illegally, just deport. And that's what we've done all this time. That these judges decided that they somehow magically are the president of the United States. And that's the one thing that her and I agree on. And it's going to go on and talk about how the meat plant's going to pretend that, well, we didn't know she was illegal. You know, she must have had fake documents. I really hope that they get investigated and all these other employers that hire these illegal immigrants, because they're technically not supposed to, right? I mean, unless you have rights to work here in the United States, either you're a citizen or you have some kind of workers' rights to be here, then you shouldn't be working here in this country. You shouldn't be able to come into this country illegally, not have papers, and then go get jobs. Yet that happens all the time. And now these employers are trying to pretend that they never knew in the first place. And I said the employers should be arrested too. They're aiding and abetting, in my mind. Right? They're impeding law enforcement. I mean, is that obstruction of justice? You know, that's for courts to decide, but that's certainly worth asking. And then what the other favorite trick the Democrats try to do is they try to combine illegal immigration with legal immigration. They just call it like immigrants, right? Or I heard the one that was really hilarious where they call, what do they call it? They call it undocumented citizens. Wherever the hell woke, insane mind that is. And so you have these Democrat activists trying to push all this nonsense, and there's no one dumber on TV than The View. These cackling hens, I almost don't cover clips anymore because it's just mind-numbing how stupid they are. But actually out of today, Arnold Schwarzenegger went on there, and of all people, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to embarrass them on the American dream and legal immigration and talking about something about patriotism. First, let's watch Joy Behar here, who's constantly pleading with the rest of the cackling hens to be the stupidest person on TV every day. And watch how she frames this question to Arnold Schwarzenegger, because you will never hate these people enough.
You're an immigrant in this country. Yeah. Did you have a visceral reaction to what they're doing, what ICE is doing, when you see the videos of it?
Well, do you see how she worded that? Well, you're an immigrant. What she doesn't mention there, because they mash it all together, is Arnold Schwarzenegger came here legally. And like part of this American dream, this American exceptionalism, you can come to the United States and you can start from absolutely nothing and build vast amounts of wealth in a single generation. I mean, there's a lot of wrong things about Arnold Schwarzenegger and some of the life choices that he has made. But that part of that American dream, that American exceptionalism, that opportunity, right, is precious. We're the only place in the world that has the kind of opportunity that we have here. And the Democrats, they despise it and they hate it. They cannot stand it. They can't stand you having freedom because if you do, you don't need them. That's the way Joe Biden works, because that's the way the Democrats think. Right? They think, well, you're an immigrant, so you must think because you're an immigrant, you must think that all immigration is good. Whether they come here illegally, whether they're criminals, or they came from prisons, if they came from mental institutions, right? It doesn't matter. It's just all immigration is good in the Democrats' mind. There's no, they just decided one day that there's no difference between illegal immigration and immigration. And then watch how Arnold Schwarzenegger here completely embarrasses these cackling hens on The View.
I tell you, you said that the immigrant, I'm so proud and happy that I was embraced by the American people like that. I mean, imagine I came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. All of this is because of America.
That's true.
And so this is why I'm so happy to see firsthand that this is the greatest country in the world, and it is the land of opportunity.
You can already see you're gonna have to say is you can already see Whoopi Goldberg's face and where this is going to go. She's at least the one person, and the rest of the cackling hens are starting to realize it too, because the Democrats, they don't think America's the greatest country in the world. Okay, they don't believe in American exceptionalism. They think the exact opposite. They all hate this country. They all think that this country is stained and it's got blood on its hands. And you will never be able to wash out that blood ever, no matter what you do, that this country is just evil and it's corrupt and it needs to be brought down to its knees. Right? That's why they wave Mexican flags, or that's why they wear Palestinian flags. That's why they don't wear wave American flags unless they're fake virtually signaling for 2 seconds. Because that through Obama and through Biden's and through Kamala Harris and all the rest of their leaders, the Democrats want to put America last. And then watch this next part as he is going to completely embarrass every single one of them. And watch how quiet as they just clap because they think, oh yeah, American exceptionalism. Yeah, America's greatest country. Yeah, we're supposed to pretend that we like that, right? Yeah. And then he drops the hammer on them on this next clip.
I just think the world of the great kind of a history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. That is the important thing, you know. So you got to do things legal.
Cut. The entire place goes quiet. Legal? No. We're Democrats. No, see, we don't have to do things legal because we have the two-tier justice system. So we just decide that we want something, and we just decide in our own minds that it's moral and just. Because these issues, they're too important for laws. Right? This is about social justice. This is about DEI. This is about bringing America to its knees and making equity the center of control, not equality, what Arnold Schwarzenegger is talking about here. Right? He's coming here legally and respecting the country. So listen, you could hear a pin drop as he continues.
And those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America...
They are not smart. I mean, he's right. They're not smart. It's very stupid to enter a country illegally. And it's very stupid to come to that country illegally and then break its laws. And then it's even more stupid, the Democrats, to side with these people, to side with these gang members, to side with these human traffickers, to side with these murderers, these rapists, these criminals. Right? And they get arrested, they get deported. And the Democrats, you notice they never stand up for American citizens. I mean, they'll talk the good game, but what do they actually do? How many Democrats do you see going to court and fighting for American citizens? But they'll certainly go there for an illegal immigrants because they don't want them deported. And it's so quiet. They're not smart. Well, he's right. He's talking about people breaking our laws or the cackling hens on The View. Either one, its shoe fits.
You're a guest, and you have to behave like a guest.
Oh my gosh. It's just dead silent there. That was one of the best things.
What is taking place this week? To be coming.
All right, so this is now going on Ilhan Omar, who is then, so the Democrats they don't care about American citizens, but they do care about illegal immigrants. So watch how she frames us being the party of law and order, actually enforcing our laws and deporting people who shouldn't be here in the first place.
Out of our country. I mean, I grew up in a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military.
Okay, if you hate this country so much, why didn't she leave? Why did she go back to Somalia? Or why did she go to one of her communist utopias? Why did she go live in Russia? Why did she go live in China? Or why don't she go live in Iran? I think we all know the answer. See, the Democrats, they always want to tear America down and talk about how great everywhere else is, but they never actually want to leave. It's because their virtue is just as fake as everything else the Democrats are. And she's just so distraught that our laws are being enforced. And you see how they lie. This is our democracy. When this is not a democracy, we are a constitutional republic. And yeah, there is democracy built into our system, because you do get a little bit of both. But the overall picture, we are a constitutional republic of the United States of America. And we have laws. You vote for your leaders write the laws. And then they're supposed to enforce those laws blindly and equally. But the Democrats, they have decided somehow in their woke mind virus brains that they can pick and choose which laws they enforce. So then they just decide, well, people come here illegally, all of a sudden, poof, they're legal somehow. How? Well, because they don't enforce the laws, right? And now that they're here illegally, now because we decide this is morally good, we now need to make them legal. And then if anybody tries to enforce the laws, well, it's the people who's enforcing the laws the problem, right? Because they're racist, or they're bigots, they're homophobes, they're transphobes, they're white nationalists, they're extreme MAGA Republicans. All the normal things they try to do to silence and shut up everybody who opposes the way that they think. And this is not a dictatorship. Okay, this is us enforcing our laws. And the Democrats, they don't get to decide anymore which laws they're going to enforce and which laws are not. And this is the happen. This is also part of our law. If the Democrats decide they're gonna bring in AGs and they're gonna bring in judges, they're just gonna pick and choose which laws they force, then the federal government has the right to come in and enforce our laws. Okay, a judge doesn't get to decide, I'm gonna enforce this law and I'm gonna enforce that law. That's not how this is supposed to work. Your elected officials create the law, and then judges and prosecutors in law enforcement carry out the law. But in her mind, no, you arresting illegal immigrants, you arresting criminals, that's your fault, right? You're the threat to democracy. You're the dictatorship. And then the Democrats, they can't figure out why they're all the way down like 17%.
Are in our streets without any regard for people's constitutional rights, while our president is spending millions of dollars propping himself up.
Yeah, these are the same people that let their cities burn and did absolutely nothing, and then begged the federal government to come in and bail them out, just like California tried to do again here this last weekend with these King riots. And then, what they do? Newsom was going to do nothing. LA police were told to stay back. And so Trump sent in the National Guard and Trump sent in the Marines. because we're not going to let our Democrats burn down our cities anymore. And of course, they all pretend they're victims. And now LA, in its insanity, wants you, the taxpayers, to pay for them refusing to enforce our laws. Good luck with that one. And with that, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to come back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN Show. The rest of these stories will have to go back in the stack. Well, independent thinkers, we have reached the top of another hour. If you have enjoyed this content and haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the follow button, turn on notifications so you don't miss a moment. We will be live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern every single weekday, followed by an after show exclusively over on Locals. But first, I'd like to thank our patriotic producer, Brooke, for all the help that she does to make this show possible. Also, if you would like to support the show, speaking of Locals, we'll be hosting an after show after this show airs, and you can gain additional perks for supporting the show, such as exclusive content, follow, and access to the after show and your name at the end of videos, just like these fine young independent thinkers who have supported the show as well. So thank each and every one of you, and make sure you head over to Locals. We'll be live here to talk here in a few more minutes. This is the CASHLOREN Show, and God bless the USA.